to Randa. I'm going to mute everybody so that, Randa, you can unmute yourself to open us with a song.
Okay. Yeah. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on to justice land. You sing this with me if you. Yeah, oppression. Ain't gonna let no oppression turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no oppression now. Turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on to justice land. Ain't gonna let no bully turn us around, turn us around, turn us around. Ain't gonna let no bully, oh yeah, turn us around. We're gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on to justice land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. Turn us around. Ain't gonna let nobody, yeah, oh, turn us around. We're gonna keep on walking. Oh, keep on talking, marching on to justice land.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Randa. Welcome, everyone, to Tuesdays with Tillis, week number 175. Inviting all of us to be aware of our bodies, be aware of what we're feeling in our bodies right now. Allowing ourselves to feel grounded and held by the earth, by our own breath. Allowing ourselves to be held by the earth and held by the presence of one another. For 175 weeks, we have gathered every week, and we have been looking. We have been not looking away. We have continued to look directly into the evil that has been happening and escalating. And so during this time, where it seemed to have just taken another turn, inviting you all today to privilege the voices of people of color, if we can, during this gathering. And also, I've invited Ted, otherwise known as Red T Raccoon on Twitter. If you tweet, definitely follow him. And I invited him to speak to us a little bit to begin the discussion of what might or might not have happened last night. Our president was so confused that it's hard to tell. Ted, I know you have a new job, but I don't know what it is. Tell us.
So, if you knew me before, I used to work in the corporate world, and the start of this year, I finally decided that it's not enough to sit on the sidelines, and so I started getting involved politically. And luckily, I found myself with a great organization. It's called Organizing Together North Carolina. We're partnered with a lot of the local groups, the NAACP, Indivisible, the AFCLO. And so what we were working on is the main focus is voter registration. All of us know that it goes back to that as far as like a core. We got to make sure that we get people out to vote. But it's also coming together as a community. I know that it's very easy for outside forces to try to divide us. And we need to look within ourselves and look at common things for us to go and come together with and kind of fight for. And I think, now more than ever, is the time for us to go and put all the petty differences aside and look at the main goal as far as trying to be unified as one people. So yeah, I'm the deputy digital director right now for that organization.
Oh, cool. And it's called Organizing Together, NC.
Yep, Organizing Together, NC. And what I'll do actually in the chat box tomorrow, I know that all of us are kind of looking for safe ways to go and get organized. Tomorrow we have we're doing a webinar or a town hall about the pandemic of racial injustice. We're going to have Congressman David Price. We're going to have the president of the NC AFL-CIO, Mary B. McMillan, and State Rep Chaz Beasley at the event. I would love it if anyone wanted to go and join us, and I'll send the Mobilize link in the chat box if anybody's interested. And I know I've seen a couple of friendly faces in some of our events already, and I'm really appreciative of all of us that have kind of joined in and have already taken part. But yeah, in the chat box, I put a link to that event for tomorrow.
That's great. So if you're just joining us, I invited Ted to speak for us today and lead this this discussion because I trust him so much. He's a distinguished veteran. He's been a really good friend to Tuesdays with Tillis, publicizing what we've been trying to do. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and thank you again for being with us, Ted.
No, I appreciate it. I'm just trying to ground myself after that song. It's and that's why I love being part of this group, is that kind of found you guys about like a little bit over a year ago, and the love that we have for each other, and you can feel it every single time. And I know that we can't be physically with each other, but we do the best we can. And opportunities like this to kind of speak with you, I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. A little bit about myself. In 2000, I was in a situation where I guess a lot of Americans are right now. Like, I didn't have a way out. I was poor. I'm in and out of homelessness, didn't really have any direction. And like a lot of young men and women, the only option that I had was the military. And I'm a peaceful person. I have love in my heart. And so I took the oath and joined as a medic. I wanted to be able to at least do my part to try to preserve life rather than take it. And when I signed up, it was actually peacetime. It was before 9/11. And eventually in 2006, I deployed to Iraq. And the parallels of what I'm seeing today compared to what I experienced in the military kind of keep on flashing before me. I didn't prepare anything for this, so I'm just going to kind of speak from the heart. And I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for all veterans. I'm not speaking for, I guess, anybody else but myself in regards to this. But when I signed up, I have a deep love for my country. And it's because, in theory, all of us deserve the same opportunity. All of us deserve the same rights. All of us have a voice. And that's something inside of me. The fairness, I don't know if there's a better way of explaining that, has always just burned in my heart. Seeing injustice and seeing people treated differently just burns me up inside. It's something that I just can't witness. I have to go and do something to change. And unfortunately, the situation that I was involved with was, and again, there's a lot of different things that you can explain as far as the Iraq war goes, just, unjust. One thing that I focused on is that I was trying to help people that were being repressed by an authoritarian dictatorship and have been repressed for years and years and years. People that were beaten down, that had every right stripped from them. There was an iron fist that controlled that country for a very long time. You can see it in the people's faces. You can see people that lost all hope, lost all will to fight, lost everything. And again, a lot of things happened during that war, and there was a lot of complex issues in regards to it. But I focused on what I was able to go and do in that moment, and what, Martin Luther King talks about, driving out darkness with light, and even the smallest candle can go and light up a room when it's that dark. And I decided that in my heart, I was going to be that candle. And I was down in Raleigh on Sunday, and bless my wife, she's 4 months pregnant, and I didn't want her to go. And just seeing what happened on Saturday, and she told me, she's like, I have to see it with my own eyes. And she's like, if I can go and tell my child that I was down there while I was pregnant with them, I know that I'm doing the right thing, and I can go and kind of be the parent that I wish, I had a parent from. And I saw that peacefulness there. There was and we were talking about this prior to the call, there were young people that may not have the experience that we have, and they were trying to fight for what was right. And then I saw it get out of control. And it, again, harkens back to what I saw in Iraq, where American influence going into a situation also caused a rift as far as sectarian violence is concerned, people going against each other, and groups that were intermingling and causing chaos between each other. And seeing what happened yesterday, the military, the United States military, is not a force that is capable and is geared towards dealing with civilian populations, especially on American soil. This is a recipe for disaster, and something that should never happen, something that I never expected happening in my lifetime. I mean, I think all of us got lulled into this false sense of security prior to Trump taking office, and we thought things were changing for the better, and it's that underlying current that was always there that now has decided to go and kind of rear its ugly head and make itself more and more known. And I kind of posted this kind of statement on Twitter, is that I don't know what to do myself, but lead by example. And I think if there's any message that I can give to the group of people that I'm looking at right now, is that you're the professionals when it comes to this. Karen, now, if you don't mind me kind of explaining the story as far as the event, the impeachment event that we had downtown, rapid action event. We had a day, maybe hours, to go and organize and to go and put together a peaceful event. And the experience of this group, understanding how to go and react with the authorities in Raleigh, the Capitol Police, how to go and organize in a constructive and peaceful manner. We just need to be that leadership now. We need to go and teach the younger generation how to go about doing this in an effective and safe manner, because the message gets lost every single time once there's violence involved. And we're seeing that all of us here know that there has never been a protest in North Hills. There never will be a protest in North Hills. Anything that happened on Saturday night in North Hills had nothing to do with the message that we're putting out as far as racial justice is concerned and police brutality. We need to go and take that narrative back and go back to that core message. And I'm a veteran. I'm part of that community. Each and every one of us are part of our own communities. And I think that both in the city itself, the state itself, and then even within our own individual communities, I think all of us need to be those leaders and go and take that message back and step up and say, this is how you go and do it. This is how we go and have pure change. And I don't know, I appreciate all of you from the bottom of my heart. I've had some rough weeks in the past, and Tuesday mid-mornings, afternoons was always my kind of little bit of light. And I know as we would always march back past the federal building, I would rush in front of the crowd just to stand next to Rhonda as she would start singing, just to get my own little private show as everyone was coming back. And that was always the most powerful thing, is that image of us marching together and then joining together in song at the very, very end. It's just such a powerful image. And I think, again, if we can do anything we can to go and kind of change that narrative as far as what's going on downtown. Again, I wish I had all the answers. I don't. But I think coming together, all of us, we can go and kind of figure out a way to go and make this a peaceful movement and a movement that matters and has lasting change. I don't want my unborn child having to deal with these issues 30 years from now. And it's something that we need to go and draw the line, and it ends now. And hopefully we can go and do that. So again, thank you for giving me the time to speak.
I probably speak for everyone when I say you brought me right into my heart. Thank you so much. And we're so happy about your child.
I am too. I hope, and when things get back, I don't want to say get back to normal, but when we get back together as a group, I would love to go and bring the baby out. Got a lot of grandpas, grandmas, aunts, and uncles in this room that I would love to go and share them with. So,
not to mention fairy godmothers.
That's right. And the due date's early November. So, gosh, it would be so ironic if it was an election day baby. But yeah, hopefully we'll all be seeing it around December. So thank you all.
Oh, it's so good to have that joy. So can you hang around a while if we have like questions for you? So I know I had so many questions last night, and so did Rachel Maddow. So I don't expect any of us to have answers, but one thing that I wanted to ask someone who understood the military better than I do is, can Trump do this? Can he call the military to attack his own citizens? Is that a thing?
And so that's like a debate that, I'm not as far as like military law or constitutional law is concerned, but that goes back to state rights. And so I think what I've been seeing, specifically one of the most vocal is the governor of Illinois, drawing a clear line saying that that's not something that is going to be allowed. It seems like we're going back and we're fighting almost everything in regards to the Constitution and what's legal and what isn't legal during this administration. So I expect the same thing might happen in regards to this. And it goes back to, and I hate to say it, it always goes back to the courts. And we're seeing this cycle. And now we understand why Mitch McConnell has been pushing so hard to go and have the court system. And that's what I think the core of all this is, they made a deal with the devil in order to go and have these courts be so red. And now, the devil wants his due. And I think it's going to be something that we're going to be seeing as far as kind of like states' rights versus federal rights, which is so ironic because the Republicans were always about state rights and they are ripping them to shreds right now.
Yeah.
the script has completely flipped. And I'm only 40, so I don't have all the experience in regards to like what happened in the 60s, but like it is dumbfounding.
Yeah.
So sorry for a non-answer, but yeah, I
that's
don't
great.
know.
That's great. And I think someone said in the chat, and I think this is true, that he can do it in Washington, D.C. because there is not a governor. And we saw that yesterday, and it was very, very brutal. Yeah, Doyle, go ahead.
Yeah, going back to the military, Ted, you can disobey an illegal order,
Mhm.
and can we trust the senior officers in the military to just simply tell this president no?
It's a great question. So, and we were also talking about this before the call as far as like perceptions and photo ops. The Joint Chief of Staff was marching in DC, and not necessarily marching with the crowds, but marching around the crowds, claiming that he is going to fight for the rights of American citizens in regards to the Constitution. And anybody who's kind of been involved with the military is like, you have a chain of command, and like when I talk about chain of command, it is like one of these long chains of command, and it takes courage at some spot to go and say, yes, this is an illegal order. It's tough to say. So being in Iraq, I know that I witnessed things that I would consider illegal orders that were still followed through. My uncle served in Vietnam and was involved with the burning of a village, and he disobeyed an order. There was a court-martial hearing, and all of us would love to think that that would be the case, but history has proved us wrong in the past in regards to courage under fire and being able to go and do that. This is unprecedented. I've never seen anything like this. And you don't know how someone reacts in regards to what they may consider a military coup. Because again, those orders and things, Trump loves to kind of go back as far as, if you're not with me, you're against me. And I don't know if that's going to be thrown in the face as far as our military leadership is concerned. And it goes back to a lot of the leadership that was around about a year ago that we weren't sure if they were, saving us from Trump or if they were enabling Trump. It looks like they were saving us from Trump. And a lot of them are no longer around. A lot of the good ones have already left. It's like, do you rather have a voice on the inside, or is it somebody that's working from the outside? It looks like it was a little bit better when they were working from the inside. At least they were able to keep a leash on the dog. But now it seems like that's kind of gone out the window.
Well, I'm still going to have some hope for the Joint Chiefs. I really think that, there's so many ways that, our congressmen, particularly the senators in the Republican Party, have just lost their spines. They've lost their souls, and it's hard for me to believe that the military would be as vulnerable to that.
Yeah. And we saw we saw a glimpse of it with the Navy captain as far as the aircraft carrier is concerned, with the COVID-19 response. And so like, that's a good example. And
yes,
little acts of courage like that can build up. And luckily he was praised in regards to that. And that's maybe an important thing too, that we need to go and do is, instead of painting the police with a broad brush or painting the military with a broad brush, we need to go and take out that fine brush and make sure that we're highlighting and we're circling the good deeds. And again, they maybe use this photo ops. That's fine. Let's go and take advantage of those photo ops ourselves. Let's go and show examples of people doing the right thing, praise them, and in hopes that that changes the hearts of somebody else that has that opportunity to go and make that decision.
Yeah, I think that that needs to be underlined. It's along the line of whatever we pay attention to grows, and there is really so much heroism that we're seeing right alongside the horror, and I feel like it's really important to pay attention to that. We have
We had a recent example. Our local chapter of Veterans for Peace sponsored an exhibition recently at Duke about the GI resistance during the Vietnam War. And there were countless examples of GIs in country who resisted and said no to orders that just went beyond their moral level of acceptance. And the newsletters, the newspapers, the coffee houses, the fragging, all of it helped to put an end to the war when the GIs were resisting and refusing to follow orders. It is possible. It is possible, but they were well organized. And it came after so many years of seeing what our military was capable of doing to human beings in that country. So I do have hope that we can maybe realize that saying that we had, I'm old enough, Ted, to have been through it in the 60s. My husband is a Vietnam veteran. And we had a saying then, what if they gave a war and nobody came? Yep. And I'm hopeful that our current military, those who find themselves having to do things that wound them morally, will find the courage to organize and say no. And we need that here as well, because the military is being turned against us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was
Mike,
just checking to see if Roger is on. So Roger is a great one.
Yeah, you're on.
I don't see Roger on, but Roger comes to a lot of our events. He's locally here working for Veterans for Peace. Some other really big organizations that are getting organized in regards to kind of like progressive veteran movements is Common Defense. They, if you kind of follow them on Twitter, they're a lot of the gotcha videos on the halls of Congress in regards to some of the things going on. Vote Vets is another liberal veterans organization that is very organized.
And About Face also.
Yes, About Face. Yeah. So there's groups, and they're always looking for support, always looking for people to go and to kind of join causes with them.
Thank you. Mike, you're unmuted. Yeah.
I think that our best hope, in my opinion, are the governors. I think the governors are speaking out. I think they're willing to stand up, and I think they're willing to say no military. They've got the National Guard, and that's enough. One other thing, and then I've got an experience I want to share. I don't know if anybody watched the press conference yesterday of the 5 leaders from the rally and their 5 demands that they presented. They spoke with the governor. The governor asked them to give them their 5 demands, and the 5 demands are very poignant. I posted a link to it. It's 50 minutes long, but it's well worth hearing and seeing. It was very powerful. October 1967, I was a student on the campus in Madison, Wisconsin, the University of Wisconsin. The chancellor and the president of the school were approached by Dow Chemical to come on and recruit on campus. They had meetings with Dow. They had meetings with big officials in the city and big officials at the university. They were warned not to have them come on campus because they said if they come, the campus will explode. The chancellor and the president said, we cannot deny them their right to come and recruit on our campus. Well, the other side was perfectly prescient, and the campus absolutely exploded. For 2 weeks, we had the National Guard out on campus. There were tanks fully loaded with ammunition. There were Jeeps with machine guns on them that were loaded. There were National Guardsmen that had their M14s loaded with bayonets drawn. Fortunately, it never got to the point where the shooting started. But there was plenty of tear gas, plenty of force used, but by the police. But the National Guard never really opened fire. But it was very scary to see what can happen on the streets of the United States when you see this presence marching down with jeeps going down State Street and coming up on campus. We don't want to see this. And in my opinion, what we're leading up to is a race war. And I hope I'm wrong. You remember me saying when I've talked to you about inequality that this one won't end well either. And I thought that we could possibly have a war on the streets of the United States. And I hope I'm wrong again. But it looks like it's going to happen.
Well, I think we have to say that that white people invented whiteness, and there's been a race war going on for 400 years, and so that's the context of what's happening now. And I think the karma of all of that violence. You know, I saw posted. Black people built this country; they have a right to burn it down, and I just feel there's something right about that. And that so much violence has been visited on Black bodies for so long that there had to be a moment when people said enough. So I do think, though, that Putin, together with Trump, because Trump got on the phone with Putin before he got on and made his announcements last night. They are using racism and a lot of other things to divide this country and turn this country into chaos. Race is what they are using. And so for us to figure out where each of us need to put our bodies, I think that context is really important. And I'm hearing from Black people that they are so tired, so exhausted from the violence that they've just had to live with, of living in Black and brown bodies in this country. And so the work of each of us, depending on what color we are, may be different. Like I just want people of color to stay alive. And white people's work may be different. I feel like supporting these young people, for example, last night on the street of Durham, was really important. But the virus definitely complicates everything. And I feel like for all of these years, we have been putting ourselves out on the streets for the last 3.5 years. A lot of us have been saying in Washington and in every place in the country, we have to remove this man. And the GOP senators had a big chance to do that, and they didn't take it. And so now a lot of people that have been activists for many years are saying this is the moment. We have been hoping for hundreds of thousands of people to pour into the streets since Trump was elected, and now they have in the middle of a pandemic. But as we know, some people are in more danger on these streets than others. So Ted, I really hear you when you say that we need to take some leadership, and I don't know what that means. And I think we're just going to have to kind of figure that out as we go along. Every hour, the situation seems to be changing now.
Yeah, and I think maybe taking lessons learned from what we do at our events and what we've done in the past, because it's interesting because I have people coming up to me that are new to Raleigh and they're like, is this usually like this? And I'm like, no, we have massive events that are always peaceful. Like the one that I always go back to is the HK on J marches. Completely peaceful, massively large. First, and I've seen this, I saw this with my own eyes. If you were there on Sunday, and definitely on Saturday also, I just wasn't there, so I can't say with my own personal eyes, there are bad actors in the crowd. You can see it. And
there were Proud Boys there. That's
yes,
documented. And there were people with guns and pickup trucks looking to hurt someone.
Yep. And again, it's the dynamics are so quick and so shifting, but I want to hope that you can trust the police, but we need to call those people out, bring the police to them, at least so we can say to ourselves. So, for example, Sunday, I saw a person with a gun on the green. We all know that you cannot have a weapon on the green. They won't even let us have sticks, let alone a gun. So went up to a uniformed Raleigh police officer, informed him that person has a gun. Watched the Raleigh police officer go over to that person. With my own eyes, took a picture, documented it. I did my part in order to go and say that I at least tried to go and stop that from escalating. It didn't. That person was allowed to stay. That person was allowed to go and cause trouble. But we need to keep on doing that over and over and over and over again. I know it's like whack-a-mole and it's like trying to go and hold back the tide, but it's something that we have to do. And then two, we need to go, and we're good at this. We're really good at this, recognizing some of the people that are there counter protesting, but not instigating or not immediate danger. There's some people that we can just easily ignore. We have someone that shows up to our events all the single time, every time. And again, it's almost kind of like it's not even background noise anymore. He's out there, we go and do our thing, he goes and does his thing, that's it. It's kind of like figuring out who is going to be able to do this. And you're right, Karen, the COVID-19 protest that I'm at, I am always against wearing masks. If you're brave enough to go out and protest, you should be brave enough to go and show your face and represent who you are. Right now, we're in a situation where not wearing a mask is unsafe to you and others because of the pandemic. It's like the perfect storm is happening right now. You can't tell people not to wear masks, but clearly people are taking advantage of the fact that masks are covering their faces in order to go and do things. So it's going back to if you see something, say something. But then I also know too that us as a group, we're probably not the ones that are going to be out in the streets of Raleigh at 1 a.m. And some of us may, and I understand, but again, the forces of good tend to, when things get bad, I know personally myself that I go and remove myself from that situation. So again, I wish I had all the answers. And I think maybe even just talking this through and kind of hearing each other process this through our own heads may come up with some kind of solution too.
I think it's helpful to just keep saying over and over, we have to follow the leadership of Black people at this moment in history.
Yep.
Just keep saying that over and over.
And then just to put on my social media hat for a second, one thing I definitely want to encourage everyone to do is be careful about what you're seeing on social media. Just like the fact that we have bad actors on the ground, we are being flooded right now on social media with bad actors that have no idea what's going on whatsoever.
Yes.
I'm seeing images of Fayetteville Street and someone is telling me that it's North Hills.
Yes.
Okay, you clearly do not know Raleigh if that's what you're going to go and be putting out there.
Right.
So just like the group that we have here, the 5 people that we're working with the governor, make sure that when you're on social media, you're following people that are actually activists that are involved in the community, that are part of the community, rather than random accounts that are just throwing out nonsense. Going back to the war, the fog of war is real. And if you were following social media on Saturday and Sunday night and you were trying to keep tabs on what was going on, there was a few really good reporters that were out there. There were a few really bad reporters. And then there was a lot of noise and smoke. And I'm not talking about the pictures of videos. It was all of these garbage that was being thrown out there. And then knowing myself, like I know, like all of us know that area like the back of our hands. Like I can go and put a blindfold on and I can walk around the Capitol grounds. I know that there was bad information. So please make sure that you're keeping tabs and you're not kind of falling for the tricks that are out there. And don't engage them. Don't get any, because what will happen too is that if you're trusted in our community. And so if you start engaging them, other people are going to go and follow your lead, and that person is going to go and get more attention than they deserve in the first place.
Oh, good. That's good. Yeah, Doyle.
What we need to do is find somebody who can manufacture transparent masks so we can see the face and yet still protect other people from ourselves.
People have been making masks with transparent mouths primarily for deaf people, so they can read lips and things like that. So I've seen a lot of patterns out there and a lot of examples of people making masks with a clear mouth.
There are also masks with transparent shields that cover your face that are attached to visors and come down over your face. And those are available. They're being made right here in Durham at Solterra. You're on mute, Karen.
I'm so sorry. I think we're all going to just have to figure out for ourselves every day kind of what we're called to do. If you're not on the mailing list of Standing Up for Racial Justice, Triangle Surge, SURJ, that's a good mailing list to be on. That's how I found out about the Black Youth Project protest last night, Triangle Surge, SURJ, because they are really dedicated to following the leadership of Black people during this time and how to support this protest. And if you don't want to go on the streets, they have other options. But if you do want to go on the streets, it does seem like during the daytime hours it's very peaceful. But not all of these protests are very well organized, and the bad actors come out later. So my strategy has been to then leave. But I do worry about people who are staying, and I understand why they're doing that. But this is every single place in North Carolina that I've been able to find out about last night. Last night was okay, I think, in Raleigh. Elena was there and would know. But the night before, the police were the ones that initiated the violence, was my understanding. And definitely last night in Greensboro, the police initiated the violence. They turned tear gas last night on peaceful protesters in Greensboro. We know that for sure. So that can change really quickly. And that's been our experience.
Just in one last closing thought too, if you do go out and you're out there when it starts getting a little bit more tough, there's a new tactic that they've been doing over the past couple of days where they're boxing in protesters.
Yeah.
So make sure that you always have a clear way out. Make sure that you always have something to your back that you can go and get out of there immediately. Do not retreat to parking garages. Don't go and jump in alleys or anything like that. Make sure that you have main ways. And then if you see that you're getting surrounded, you need to get out of there immediately. Again, it happened in DC last night. It happened, I think, in Seattle too. In Texas or Dallas, it was another place where this is happening. Yeah. So please just live to fight another day. I don't want anyone getting hurt. Just the medic in me also that cares about everyone. Happened in Charlottesville. Yeah, it's a tactic that they use. What will happen? All of a sudden, you'll realize from behind there's a line of police that are right behind you, and there's no way of exiting at that point, even if you're trying to be peaceful.
Right. Yeah. And the story from last night, and there was evidence. I saw the pictures of this. The police backed people up into the front of some brownstones in DC, and the people who lived in those houses let all of the protesters into their house. But then the police tear gassed the house. So it's pretty terrifying. So Jan writes that there's a national call with Surge tonight. And can you put the link in there, Jan? Thank you so much. Yeah, Surge is great. Thank you so much. And then, the Poor People's Campaign, just putting in a plug for them, man, they know what they're talking about.
If anybody furthering that plug, I can put it in the chat. If anybody wants to further explore what Poor People's Campaign really stands for, it's a wonderful website, including state links specific to the state of North Carolina. You can see the impact of poverty and racism, militarism. You can see it. So I will put that in here right now.
And I'm kind of,
while we're talking about the chat, if you want the transcript of this chat and you're new, welcome everybody new, but be sure to put your name and email in the chat, because we send this out and it's got a lot of really great links in it.
And then also, if you want to, Jewel will send you the Zoom link the morning before on Tuesday, every Tuesday. So, yeah, Mike. You're muted.
I put in the chat that there is an app called Mobile Justice NC. It's put out by the ACLU. It allows you to directly record from your phone an incident, and you can immediately report the incident to the ACLU. You can be a witness to nearby incidents. It also gives you alerts. So I think everybody that's going out at these protests needs to have this on their phones.
Thank you.
Karen, can I say something?
Sure, Gerardo, go right ahead. And then Mark.
Okay. I wanted to address what you had said a little while ago about racism and the work that people have to do. I do peer counseling. It's different from professional counseling. I'm not working right now. That's a whole long story. That's another conversation. But as a professional counselor, you know, when you're going through your classes and all your training, they teach you to work with whoever's in front of you. Even if you don't like them, even if they're too short, too tall, too fat, too thin, whatever, right? You have to work with them. And one of the things that they train or teach us to do is to work on our biases, where they would ask you, what is making it difficult for you to counsel that person in front of you? And with this peer counseling, it's a little different. Usually if white people go off on their own and then us people of color stay, because we need to work on how racism has affected us. However, there's also a place where we've dared to try to go there. We haven't been able to. I think it's really embarrassing, and you don't want to offend anybody, but they want us to work on our racism within each group. Like, for example, I have to work on my racism towards Asian people, even if I'm not aware of it, or my racism towards Black people. It very, very, very rarely has ever come out of my mouth, but I know it's there. Even though I'm brown, I still have to work on it. I think that, yes, Liz, it is reevaluation counseling. We have to work on all of that, and we always say that white people aren't really the enemy, even though it feels like it is. It's a system because it's set up to divide and conquer. It's capitalism, it's money, and it's greed. It's the way that white people have been taught or trained after hundreds of years. I really don't think that all of you are horrible people. I think you all have good hearts and your heart's in the right place. I just think that as white people, you all do need to have these conversations with each other and talk about like anti-Jewish oppression, talk about racism. Us men need to work on sexism towards women. I mean, we really do. And have these difficult conversations, even if it's uncomfortable. I mean, that's the whole point. We don't get to get away with it. Like, I don't get to get away with my racism just because I'm brown. I could say, well, I'm brown. That doesn't apply to me, but it does. I've said stupid things that get me killed even. So I need to check myself too, you know, and I need to realize that I have work to do also, and that we're all in this together. That we're really not supposed to be fighting each other. It's a system. Trump and Putin are doing this on purpose. Because Putin is a master of chaos. I'm sure he's loving every minute of this. And Trump is just stupid and racist, and he'll never admit it in a million years. But he is. And we all need to work on it and do our part, including other people of color. I've had Black people say, very rarely, but I've had a few Black people say, speak English. And to me, that's racist. And they get defensive when they say, I'm not a racist. And I get really defensive in return. And we're pitting against each other. And it happens. It happens with Mexicanos where I'm from too. We're always pitting against each other. Who's more Mexican, me or you? and we really shouldn't be that way.
Thank you.
You know.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you, Gerardo. Thank you. Mark was trying to get in here.
Well, I was just supporting what Michael was saying about getting the app. I would highly recommend it if you're going to be outside demonstrating. And then two, I want to just thank Ted I appreciate all that you were saying and what you're trying to do and doing. So thank you for speaking.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I knew you would bring this to another level, and wow, like you did in a very big way.
I love y'all, and like I honestly mean that. Like this is a family, and like it's like I don't go to church, but like Tuesdays with Tillis is my church. I get to go
Ours
and
too.
do, and we sing our own hymns, and we go and have our own speakers and preachers, and so again, it's something we need to keep on doing, and I hope we keep this tradition alive even after we get rid of Tom.
Your lips to God's ears on that.
Living the faith is just as important as praying the faith.
Can we just have a few minutes to talk about actions that we might be taking now? I don't know if it does any good, but I'm still calling Tillis and Burr's office, especially today, because they should be responding to what Trump did yesterday. But there might be more strategic things to do, people that we should be putting pressure on. So ideas about that.
Yeah, so Karen Smart, sorry.
Yeah.
So I had posted a presentation given by a gentleman in Atlanta on Facebook, and he kept saying, "I don't want to be talking, but I have to." And so he was going on about the different things that he felt people should be doing, and some things that weren't necessarily obvious. One was do the census, let people know that you exist, right? And then two, obviously, register to vote. Send in for your absentee ballots. I mean, he was harping on that, which I think are two very fundamental things that are going to be crucial to making a foundational change in our country. If we keep this administration, we will not be getting any change. So unless it's warfare, so we've got to try and figure out how we make that all happen in November.
Andy.
I think, especially today, not just the politicians, but getting in touch with religious leaders and talking. I mean, I am not Christian, but I know I've got friends who are, and I've been seeing, responses from Episcopalians and Baptists and everybody about how the imagery from yesterday's event is offensive, and even the leader of that church came out and said that this was not appropriate, and is demanding that Trump say something about how inappropriate it was. So I think that not just our politicians right now need to get involved, but also our religious leaders. So if you are of the religious ilk, and I know that there are a number of you who are, this is a time to get in touch with your pastors and have them come out and say something about
Great
what happened.
point. Great point, Andy. Thanks. Randa.
So, Karen, so my daughter's 21, and she and her friends, a couple of them went out with me on Saturday to the planned event and afterwards, but they went out on their own the next night, and maybe some of them the next night. And like, we're having a religious response, and that's not enough for her. Like, they're not seeing that that's going to do anything enough for her. So that's frightening to her mother, but that is happening.
Yeah. Randa.
Well, I just think that a few calls to the police, Clarence Burkhead, but also the chiefs of police in whatever Greensboro, just a call to say, we really need you to look hard at who it is that you are battling. That kind of just, much like, of course, that there was the wonderful exchange to the two white kids. Stop throwing those things. I'm who's going to get killed, not you.
Right.
And I'm just reinforcing that.
Right.
That might even just be the sentence. Just remember.
Right.
Who to kill? No, I mean, you know what I mean. Who you're trying to kill.
Good.
Well, I'm not.
Scarlett,
You know,
Scarlett, Scarlett, and then Elena. Scarlett, you're muted. You're muted, Scarlett. Can you unmute yourself? Really? You can? There you go. Okay.
I'm Episcopalian, and I found some words of comfort from Bishop Curry. I don't know if you all know who he is. He was our bishop here in North Carolina, and now he's the bishop of the United States. He was the bishop who spoke at Meghan Markle and Harry's wedding. And his message is love. But when I listened to his Pentecost message, he spoke not only of the health pandemic, but the pandemic that has been going on in this country for 400 years.
Yeah. Thank you.
If you look for the link, it's Bishop Curry, just a powerful message, and also a message of how religious leaders have to go back to what they did in the 60s and marched with Dr. King, religious leaders of all faiths. So Bishop Curry spoke to me very powerfully. So I did want to give him a plug.
Thank you. We're getting close on time, but I want to hear from Elena about, I think there's a question about what's happening in Raleigh. Was that it? Someone was asking you, I think. Elena?
So tonight, many things are happening tonight. The one action that I'll probably be marshaling again, we may be targeting Phil Berger's house and then going back to and it's the kids. These amazing, committed to nonviolent kids. Those plans are still formulating, but there's also a city council meeting in Raleigh tonight, so 6:45 at the municipal. Let me see if I can find it. The municipal building. NC PAC is going to be there. The Raleigh PAC is going to be there, seeking answers. Because if anybody saw what I saw Saturday, it's like when the Palestinian kids throw rocks and are hit with 50 cal bullets. Water bottles were thrown and a shit ton of tear gas was dropped. And that's what blew everything up Saturday. So I think part of that is going to be addressed tonight. So there's those two actions. And then I think there's a third. I know for sure for those two. That's
okay.
All.
Thank you so much.
And then talking about faith leaders. I mean, Nancy Petty got a group together and consecrated the ground in front of CBS as this is the blood of 400 years that we have to honor. And Rabbi Dinner was there. It was just faith leaders. And Poland Church tomorrow, for its members, we will be holding signs from from Poland to the monument, 35 feet apiece apart. And we'll stand there with signs of people that have been murdered for 1 hour. So yeah, your faith leaders are important. You're absolutely spot on.
And the tiny letter has some general suggestions. We're gonna have Scarlett close us after our closing song, and I'm gonna invite Mike O'Flaherty and his ukulele. I love your ukulele. I'm gonna ask you to unmute yourself, Mike.
And I needed to say one thing.
Okay.
Mike wanted to do another song that he put together, a Beatles type amazing thing. But Terrence, the brother of George Floyd, he said that voting, that's what he felt was the way to go in all of his grief. So that's why we're doing Vote 'em Out again. But I'm just expressing this, that Michael did write a special song to talk about what's been going specifically on in the streets. So, but he's going to do Vote 'em Out.
I will. And I thank you, Randa. And I appreciate your music direction and your singing and passion. And it was so joyful this morning. And I rewrote Revolution, the John Lennon song from 1968. It just seemed to fit the immediate situation with what's happening in DC and with the general escalation of the troubles. And yet what you just said about, and I remember, I saw that speech that the brother gave about voting, and it really, and not resorting to violence, but resorting to really determined political action. And that resonated with me. And I'm really glad you honored that, because that's the root of what we're doing right now. Not looting, not even protesting. It's getting to the systemic race problem.
Right.
Of police brutality and all that.
Right. Like, hold on 1 second, because I want to tell everyone that you can keep putting things in the chat. If there are things that you want to say, you're welcome to keep putting things in the chat. And okay. Okay. All right.
I'm unmuted now. Okay. Thank you, host. Thank you, Karen. Thanks so much for what you do. You're very inspiring. I appreciate your efforts. They really matter. All right. I guess I'm going to read it off my script instead of anything Randa's going to put up on the screen. I don't know what.
Karen, I need screen.
I know. I just fixed it.
Whatever. Okay, here I go. If you don't like who's in there, vote 'em out. That's what election day is all about. That superpower we've got is called the ballot box. If you don't like who's in there, vote 'em out. Vote 'em out. Vote 'em out. When they're gone, we'll sing and dance and shout. We'll bring some great ones in, yeah, we'll find us hope again. If you don't like who's in there, vote 'em out. 2020 never mattered quite like this. That Senate is swamped. That's in the graft and lies. Get the White House sanitized. That nasty virus must be voted out. Vote 'em out. Yeah, vote 'em out. When they're gone, we'll sing and dance and shout. We'll bring some great ones in. Yeah, start this again. If you don't like who's in there, vote 'em out. We're praying hard that Trump and Pence stay well, or else the country's sure to go to hell. Imagine if they get sick. We'll turn communist right quick, because Comrade Nancy's next, you can never tell. Vote 'em out, yeah, vote 'em out. I want to hold your hand, and yes, we'll twist and shout. We'll bring some good ones in, and I'll get hope again, because we don't like who's in there, vote 'em out. We sure as hell don't like who's in there, vote 'em out. Peace, y'all.
Scarlett's going to give us our closing today.
Yes. Benediction. It's one of those churchy words, and it means good words. Oh, dear friends, dear family, I wished I had those magic words as we end our gathering. And although we're weary, we're incredibly sad, and we are justly angry, we pledge not to give up in the difficult days and months ahead of us. We gain insight and strength from one another, and we know that the struggle continues, and evil, and it is evil, we call it by its proper name, evil persists. But we hold fast to what is good. We hold fast to the truth. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. And my candle for Till It's With Tuesday still burns. It burns every day. We know that peace can only be attained when justice prevails, when justice will roll down with the waters and righteousness as a stream. And let all here who do justice and love mercy say, Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. So beautiful, Scarlett. Thank you. And feel free to unmute yourself. I can't seem to unmute you, but feel free to unmute yourselves. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you again, Ted. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen,
Thank
your
you. Bye.
pictures,
Ted.
Karen, your pictures on Facebook of being downtown have been really, really beautiful. I really enjoyed seeing them every day.
Oh, good.
Because I haven't been able to make it downtown. We're just too, yes, it's just too crazy. So
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. So I'd love to ask prayers for my husband, Sebastian. He had a COVID test yesterday. He was vomiting.
Protest, and it was
Oh,
canceled on a national level. Yeah.
because of what's going on?
I said canceled, but it's been postponed. Actually, they want to wait until a better time and not take the focus off the current issues that are being out in the streets.
But we can still try to pressure the Senate to pass the HEROES Act, which was a big part of why that was.
Unfortunately, the HEROES Act has embedded in it additional money for the military, and so there's some back and forthing about that it was snuck in, and one of the things that we can work for is one issue bills, so that we don't end up with motorcycle bills like we did with HB2 and so on. One issue per bill. I got to go. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
Okay.
Vicki.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Scarlett. Beautiful, beautiful,
Scarlett,
Scarlett.
that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh,
you.
God. Music was always, as always, beautiful.
Elena, stay in touch with me about what's happening. I have the thing about tonight in front of the police station, but I know things are developing all the time.
Yeah. So, I think somebody asked about how you're going to handle that with the curfew. The action tonight, if I'm not mistaken, was at 6:45. You know what? I can't.
It's at 7. It's at 7.
It's at 7. So get your ass out of there by 6:48.
When's the curfew start?
8.
8. Okay. Okay.
But I have to tell you, yesterday, we made sure all of our kids were at, especially our babies of color, were out of there and in cars or on their way somewhere.
Okay.
So, you know, that's the challenge with today, and I'm trying to very gently. I have a kind of an inside track to when Berger's home and not. And his car's not there today. So I don't know. What I need to find out now is if the Senate is meeting in person, because I know the House, they're doing it virtually, but the Senate, that jerk, decided, nope, we're all going to have to be here. But I don't know if that's still the case. So I have to, once I get off of here, I have to find that out, because he may have already fled to Eden. And again, the group that I am helping with, kids are peaceful. We will sit in the street. They will sit in the street and pray and sing and chant and then move on. But that's a lot of walking from Duke Energy to Burgers to the mansion and then back to Duke Energy. And this old broad.
You've been at it every day too. I know you're exhausted.
Yesterday I walked 6.5 miles in cowboy boots. Not a smart idea.
God.
So, so once I get some confirmed details, I can let you know. But you know, that I know, and because tonight is City Council,